this box came as a certain surprise to me because I was busy packing for New York Comic Con, which I'm now 24 hours away from, and I delved into a box I hadn't opened, which I was expecting to find something else in, and then I found this. And I recall that I had bought this with some trepidation because this box worries me. This could be where Playmates jumped the shark in terms of their Star Trek ship goodness. Because, do you know what I'm going to say? That image on that box is not the USS Excelsior NCC-2000. It's not even close. Now, I haven't peeked inside this box yet, so I don't know what the state of play is, but I'm already perturbed by what I'm going to find inside. I'm laughing at it. It says, the rare USS Excelsior NCC-2000 as it has never been seen before. Well, there'd be a reason for that if it looks like this box image. This box image is not the Excelsior. This is the refit Excelsior that they used for the Enterprise B from Generations. Now, one of two things occurs to me. This is tagged as the movie collection, the Excelsior class vessel from the classic Star Trek film series. Now, yeah, it's Excelsior class, fine, but it's not the 2000. This would be the 1701-B model because great big outboard impulse engines. The Excelsior did not have those. Its engines were here. And it's got this great big bulge going on the side of it there on its secondary hull. That is not a normal Excelsior. Now, I think I mentioned this recently, I could be wrong, but when they did the CGI for Deep Space Nine, they used an Excelsior class that looked like the Enterprise B. And that was a Lakota. And they actually put those flares on the Lakota as if it was an augmented Excelsior class. But as far as I'm aware, and certainly not during the film era, the Excelsior itself did not get those upgrades. And I'm not sure that they would have upgraded a space frame that was pre-existing to that extent necessarily. Now, that being said, I immediately, of course, recall the transition from the original series Enterprise to the movie Enterprise, which was a refit of the original ship, and it was quite a radical refit. So maybe, yes, maybe at some point the Excelsior gets bolt-ons and gets upgraded to this subclass of Excelsior ship, but not in the films. Not in the films. So I'm already concerned about this because I don't think this is going to be canonical. But let's have a look at it anyway. And the pictures on the back reconfirm my fears, because again, we've got yeah, you see now one of two things has happened here. They've either just taken all of the graphics from the Excelsior B box and pasted them onto this box and not changed the model, or they've taken all the graphics from the Excelsior B box but changed the model. Because here, Energy Ribbon. Well, Energy Ribbon is Enterprise B, it's not the Excelsior. In fact, I mean, thinking about it, I mean, even as late as Star Trek The Undiscovered Country, the Excelsior still looked like the Excelsior. It didn't look like the Enterprise B. So, we've got all of this sort of stuff here, and all of that is fairly generic, but that Energy Ribbon is specific to Generations, which makes me worry. Light up navigational deflector, wonderful, press the effects activation button, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, they've changed the text to Excelsior. That's all correct, but the images don't appear to be a standard Excelsior class. Now, obviously, the odds are somebody got lazy and just reused the mold of, look, yep, they messed up. Do you know what? I noticed that on my actual model, because I'm going to show you the two of them next to each other. If I'm correct, I'm going to show you the two of them next to each other. But can you see, if you can see here, it says there, it says NCC-1701-B USS Enterprise. So they've used the image of the Enterprise B. They haven't labelled it Excelsior. So that is either a straight out reuse of the Enterprise B. Well, it is. That's clearly a reuse of the imagery from the Enterprise B. That's what they've done. They've taken a shortcut, but it's quite a significant shortcut, because people like me will be saying all of the things that I'm saying because it's just not right. So this is from 1995. So let's have a look. The USS Excelsior was originally built as an experimental vessel for the Transwarp Drive project. This propulsion method was designed to increase the speed and efficiency of starships. Christened in 2284, the Excelsior NX-2000, very good, was placed under the command of Captain Stiles for its test operations. Unfortunately, the Transwarp Drive proved to be a failure, so a conventional warp drive was engineered for the Excelsior, and Starfleet placed the ship on active duty. Its registration number was then changed to NCC-2000. The Excelsior's design served as a model for a whole family of space vessels. Notable Excelsior-class starships included the USS Hood, the Repulse, the Intrepid, the Gorkon, and the Enterprise NCC-1701-B. Well, yes, we know. In 2290, Captain Hikaru Sulu commanded the Excelsior on a 3-year mission researching planetary atmospheres in the Beta Quadrant. In 2293, Sulu and the crew of the Excelsior were involved in the Great Khitomer Peace Conference, which brought the Klingon Empire and the United Federation of Planets together. Certain Federation and Klingon forces tried to disrupt the peace conference, but the Excelsior and her crew prevented them from sabotaging the delicate proceedings. Further information is classified X-Red. Enter response code 2-DLU. End of overview. Starfleet out. Collector's alert. This is the first time the USS Excelsior NCC-2000 has been available in the classic Star Trek line. Given its rare exposure and reference in Star Trek history, this replica is integral and unique component to any Star Trek collection. Whoa! Well, that's a bold claim. That's a bold claim, given what I think they've done here. I'm going to be so disappointed if this looks like what I think it's going to look like, because somebody somewhere made a mistake. So let's extract now. I say I'd really forgotten that I'd got this. Okay, well, one positive thing, they remembered to change the stickers. They've remembered to change the stickers. So that's good. That's good. So that has definitely got NCC 2000 on it. So that's a good thing, because that is what I would hope to see on the Excelsior, funnily enough. And you can see that the nacelles there come as their own sort of separate little skid assembly there. Okay, so we've got a stand, and we've got the spare battery cover, which is always nice to have. So what have they done? No, fail, epic fail. Oh dear. Great big chonking impulse engines on the wrong side of, well, not the wrong side, but on either side of the hole there. That is the Enterprise B. And yes, they have remembered to change the sticker, so the sticker is correct. The sticker is correct, that's absolutely fine. But unfortunately, the rest of it is not so much, right down to the fact that they've done the extended hole bit as well. So all of that, I'm afraid, is wrong, diddly wrong. Very, very unfortunate. So they just couldn't be bothered to do well, I say they couldn't be bothered. They failed to do a different mould because somebody must have not mentioned to them that the Excelsior is not the same as the Excelsior class Enterprise B. That, I mean, it's probably as simple and as straightforward as that. If you weren't intimately acquainted with these ships and you were told they were both Excelsiors, then you would probably assume that you could reuse the mould of one for the other one, which of course, unfortunately, you can't. And I'm sure I've told you this before, but the reason that you can't is because they wanted to make it so that they could reuse the original Excelsior shooting model, but duff it up, basically. But in order to duff it up, they didn't want to actually damage the original shooting model. So the only other things that I've got left in this box now are, I think, is just the original, it's just the stand that's in there. Basically, there's just the stand left in there, the base unit. So I'm not actually going to bother with it by simple virtue of the fact that I'm going to show you the Enterprise B. And the Enterprise B will have exactly the same stand. Yeah, I'm just looking at the, well, I'm saying I'm looking at the images. I can't make that assumption. No, that's not a safe assumption on my part. Sorry, bear with me here. Just look at the Enterprise B for a moment. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just pop the nacelles are very easy to pop on. You just literally just slot them on like this. I haven't yet dared discover whether or not you can actually safely unslot them after the event, mind you. But I'm guessing that somebody originally had these on. There we go. And detached them for transport or to put it back in the box. But in fact, I mean, it actually rests quite nicely as it is. Somewhat ironically, given its the size of its extended hull. So I've got a little bit of a blurb in here. It didn't actually mention blueprints, so maybe this one didn't come with a blueprint. But that's just all the sort of the standard sticker application sort of bits and bats there. I like the old school font that they've used. That's nice. Oh, it is the same stand. Look, yeah, that is the same stand as the B. Which doesn't surprise me, obviously, because they'll have used the same hull piece as the B to attach it to. That probably does mean, though, that if you had one of these, you could probably swap out the base hull here without the stand attached to it for the Excelsior Bs. I'm not actually sure if I've got all of the Excelsior Bs bits, so to speak. So I'll have to have a look. Now, I don't imagine its sound effects are any different to the Bs. Because if it's exactly the same ship layout, then it won't be, of course. Let's just compare the two side by side, because I think that's probably the best thing to do here to prove or disprove my theory. And this is the B, and this is the Excelsior. Yeah. I'm going to play spot the difference, and I don't think there are any apart from applying mildly different stickers to it. So let me just take you up here, because this is the best way to do it, I think. So as you can see, this is the Enterprise B, and the one at the bottom is the Excelsior. And there is no difference between that saucer section and this saucer section apart from the sticker on top. It's got the same red lines going around it. Everything is exactly the same. It's exactly the same for the warp nacelles as well. They're both of the sort of the more bulbous Excelsior B variety, because that's what they did. They just made some very, very superficial changes. Now, what I think I will do for the sake of completeness is I will just see if they have in fact added anything to the sound effects side of things, because maybe they've used different sound effects on the Excelsior, but I know the B's got batteries in already. So let's do a quick compare and contrast once I've found some batteries. All right, that was quite interesting actually. I'm actually really glad that I had the instruction sheet with me, because it turns out that the battery compartment is here. It slides, just slides on what they call the sort of the battle hull, and it just locks in like that. So it's not underneath as you might perhaps not unreasonably expect, because the thing with the Excelsior is, and I think that possibly Diamond Select went with AAAs perhaps for this very reason. And I can't get it to fit back in flushly, but anyway, that's okay. The Excelsior has a very, very thin secondary hull. So consequently, it's actually quite difficult to fit batteries in there. So I think that's why a lot of places, you just have to find somewhere else to put them, basically. You just got to use whatever sort of size you've got. I mean, these days you'd probably use sort of little, cell batteries if you could. Ah, that's it, got it in. There you go. Okay, now, this was quite loud when I tried it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the buttons on both ships in sequence, and you can just sort of see whether or not, you know, we've got any real difference here whatsoever. I suspect we probably won't have, but let's just see what's working and what isn't. So if we go top left on Excelsior, on Enterprise B rather. Yeah, pretty much the same there, I think. Top right. And there you have it. Exactly the same. No difference between the electronics whatsoever. In case you're wondering, you do get the funky light up effect with the input. So the impulse engines, as you can see, are very lit up. I think you probably saw. In fact, I'll just check myself. Yeah. It's a navigational deflector there as well. So, unfortunately, as I feared when I first saw the box art on the auction, somebody somewhere horribly, to my mind, dropped the ball. Yes, you can argue till you're blue in the face that the Excelsior could have had a Lakota / Enterprise B upgrade at some point. But unfortunately, when your box says that this is from the movies and it sort of goes up to and includes Star Trek The Undiscovered Country, I don't think you can really run that argument anymore, sadly. So what we have here is either a cynical reuse of the Enterprise B mould or an accidental reuse of the Enterprise B mould, because there just isn't a single jot of physical difference apart from the classic I've applied different stickers to this routine. Now, you might say to me, yes, but that's exactly what Diamond Select did in releasing an NX-2000 and an NCC-2000, but if I recall correctly, even on those models, there were very slight differences between the molds, because in shifting from the NX to the 2000, a few little things had changed on the hull, and obviously their Enterprise B was very different. So what Playmates have done here is not at all the same thing, sadly. They've completely missed the point in that the USS Excelsior is a completely different ship to the Enterprise B in the movie era. And I don't know if there's anything canonical that says anything different about how the Excelsior B wound up. Sorry, how the Excelsior wound up. I don't know if the Excelsior ever got this refit. And I think that's a pretty tenuous reach, given that the images on the box clearly showed that they reused the imagery. They gave it away there. They've used exactly the same electronics. There's just nothing to separate these two, unfortunately. So that was a missed opportunity. It's the one time I've been saddened by Playmates and their Star Trek range in this sense, is that their Excelsior is not legitimately the Excelsior from the films. It is a shame. I'm sad for them in a sense, because they've done so well with everything else, and this just tripped them up for whatever reason. But it is what it is, I've clearly shown them side by side, and they've just got slightly different stickers on. That's it. That is the only difference between them, sadly. It is just a bit of a shame. I'd have been even more upset if they literally just repackaged the Enterprise B and put it in the box. That would have been horrendous. So at least they gave it different stickers. But I do wonder why, because, you know, were they just trying to cash in on Generations, or, you know, because they released the Generations line separately to things like First Contact and sort of this kind of movies line. So they must have done the Generations Excelsior first, then come along and done this as a sort of movies release, but forgotten to take the add-ons off it, which is unfortunate. I don't know how easy or not that would have been to do, but, you know, maybe they'd run out of time or funds or inclination. I don't know. But it's a shame. It's a shame because it's the one slight glitch in an otherwise not at all bad line, you know. And these Excelsiors, now, for all I know, these were actually subject to a withdrawal when somebody realised what had happened, because they do seem to be much harder to find even than the Enterprise Bs. So I wonder if they decided not to release them in such great numbers or pull some of them back when they realised what they'd done. Because obviously, I can imagine that, you know, diehard Trekkies would have been up in arms about this, because it isn't as it should be. And I would, you know, it's hard to argue that point because clearly it isn't. But yeah, I don't know. So you may well know better than I do on that front. So do let me know in the comments if you know, if you can fill in the gap in my knowledge there as to sort of, you know, how this happened and what they did in response to it. But yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. I'm still desperately hunting for differences, and I really can't find any. So, all right. On that note, I shall leave it there. Get this one in the can, as they say, or don't these days. And I think I owe you one more, and I will definitely not be in this country, touch wood, for that one. In fact, touching wood. So yeah, I will see you on my return from the States, and I'll see what I bring back with me, I guess. Yeah. All right. Cheers for now.